The new faces. Om Brahmanandam Paramasukadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dandvatidam Gaganasadarsham Tattvamasya Laksham Ekam Nityam Vimalam Achalam Sarvadi Sakshibhutam Bhavatitam Trigunahitam. Om Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha. Now, we won't waste time because we will start the Kriya today. But before you start the Kriya, give me 10 minutes to make you understand the implications. Kriya is not also, part of yoga. So therefore, all the rules and regulations discussed by Patanjali in the Yoga Sutras are applicable to the practice of Kriya. But I'm trying. Oh. Suddenly I saw something. Yeah. So, so therefore, why I'm saying this is that if somebody says, I'm going to practice Kriya Yoga, but I will live my life as I want and still do Kriya Yoga, neither will the Kriya Yoga succeed, nor will you will be wasting your time. In fact, the reactions may be negative. So, since it's part of yoga, there are ashtangas, 8 angas. We won't discuss everything. But the first two are yama and niyamas, rules and regulations to be followed. Which means, first, fix a time every day when you will sit down for your kriya. Don't keep changing it according to your convenience. You fix a time according to your convenience first and then stick to it. You know what I mean? Every day at that time, the mind says, okay, sit down. One. Second, at least practice once a day. If you practice twice, it is good. If you practice 3 times, I'm happy, but you probably cannot. So concentrate on one time at least and say that this I'm not missing. One a day. It's preferable always to practice Kriya early in the morning before you get caught up in the activities of the day. Also, because then you have already gone to the toilet and come back and cleaned your system of all the unnecessary things that remain in the tummy. So, go to the toilet. There is no compulsion that you should have a bath before Kriya. There is no compulsion. You may if you like, or you can do without, no problem. Like saying, get up early in the morning in the Himalayas at 4 o'clock and go and have a dip in the Ganga, then you're dead. You probably get pneumonia instead of Kriya. So, be practical. Be absolutely practical. Okay? So, go to the toilet, wash your face, of course. Brush your teeth. Especially if you're going to sit with somebody else, definitely brush your teeth. Because when you do Brahmari, the other guy might faint. So these are just ground rules to be followed. Apart from that, now we come to the regulations called Yama Niyama. One of the most important regulation. Now I know that it's not easy for people who are brought up in a certain environment to follow it, But one of the rules is the first niyama mentioned by Patanjali is ahimsa. Ahimsa means non-violence. Even if you cannot live the non-violent life in other ways, certainly try to eat food which does not cause injury to animals. Though in the West everybody has become vegan, we won't go to that extent. Have milk and ghee, it's been thousands of years people have been having, nothing happens. But you're not killing the cow by milking the cow. Now, therefore, eat food which physically does not have signs of violence. Try your best. It's difficult. Somebody came to me from one part of the world where it's not from childhood. You get up in the morning and start eating non-vegetarian food. Now, he said, how do I do this? I can't practice Kriya. I said, okay, start the Kriya. By and by, you will not feel like it. Let it go. Right? Also, consider that we don't want to make the tummy of ours, which is nice and good, into a graveyard for dead animals. Okay? Think of that. And there is enough nice vegetarian food available on this earth which has enough nutrition. So if somebody is talking about peace and non-violence on stages or in other places and goes home and swallows meat, that talk is completely useless because you can't live a non-violent life. What will you preach about peace and non-violence to others? Right? So, what I'm saying is try, because people say we practice Kriya, nothing happened. You didn't follow the rules and regulations. So, what I'm trying to say is try your best to do that. By and by you will fall into the circuit. When you find that not eating such food, you're not going to die, then you'll be okay. It's basically a question of taste. Near the Helsinki airport, they gave me a steak to eat. I said, I don't eat steaks. They said, this is vegan. It's a question of taste, basically. So, anyway, now the next. I'm not saying that all people who eat steak are bad people. That's not what I'm saying. I know a complete vegetarian who refused to shake hands with the king of Saudi Arabia, saying that I don't want to shake hands with meat-eating barbarians. And that was none other than our good friend Adolf Hitler, because he was a vegetarian, total vegetarian. I think he didn't even eat eggs. Okay. So, as a sanction, like a okay kind of thing, you may eat eggs because most eggs are unfertilized these days. One rule is non-violence. And now I talked about the food. Now I also say that non-violence need not involve just killing. If today you have a violent thought about somebody, you already done it. It's not that so try to avoid as much as you can. If you hate somebody, if you have a bad thought about somebody, you already committed the violence. But then try not to. That's what I'm trying to. Sometimes a slap may be easily forgotten, but not a word. So they call it vacha karmana, manasa vacha karmana, which means in the mind and in your words and in your thought and in your actions, try to desist from harming others, saying bad things about people. Now, I know it's a tall order, try your best. Then the other, sticking to the truth. Satya is one of the Yama-niyamas in yoga. This is also very difficult. In fact, it may be more difficult than dietary restrictions because we tend to lie to save ourselves. That's okay, allowed. It's physical danger. But why do I say this? Because if 24 hours of my life I speak lies and untruth, but if you're a lawyer, you're allowed. Sorry, I have no offense to lawyers. We always need them. And there's one more category, I won't say that. Anyway. So, try to stick to the truth as much as you can, because if I am untruthful all my life, and then I'm looking for the absolute truth, it's a terrible contradiction. Right? So, just watch out carefully. And in circumstances when speaking the truth may be difficult for you, just keep quiet. Don't make a wrong statement. Just shut up. Let it be. And if speaking the truth is going to create violence or trouble, then also be careful about that. Do as you think is judicious in this matter. But important that one follows this procedure as much as one can. If I keep talking lies all the time and I'm teaching Kriya, how do you know it's true? I might be bluffing you off. So, watch out. The other, so yama niyama, so other is of course something which is very difficult to follow in this world, non-acceptance of gifts. Now, in this world you can't. Every media says they will give you a free house if you buy 2 houses and so on. It's like, it's rather difficult. Or you buy something from here, you get 2 free. This is the whole... So, the whole idea behind free gift is that then you're obliged. Now, especially in the case of a teacher, suppose one day you go to see me with a brown envelope, which seems to be pretty thick with cash, and then you put it down. We know cases where if you have to see a holy man, you have to take a bundle of cash and put it there. Not to him, but to his wife, so that you are allowed to go there and put double out there. So, what happens when you come with this cash? One, you get special preference. Spiritual teacher cannot give any special preference. 2, next time when you come, I'm looking for the envelope. If there is no envelope, I'm a little upset. Not me. But today, last retreat in the US, I advised a good friend, it's not compulsory that you bring gifts for me because it doesn't matter. But then they think if you give gifts, you get closer. No. I know people who have not given me any gifts who are very close to me. Okay? So, this is why the rule was made, but you cannot live. I mean, like somebody gives you a rose out of great affection and you say, I don't want. This is not what I'm talking. This is not, because there is a great deal of injunctions about keeping your senses under control, especially for renunciants, for sannyasins. Well, you can't carry it to the level where if a lady comes and wants to touch you, this is terrible. Where what you are doing is you are following one principle and then not following the principle of non-violence. These are basic rules and regulations. Try your best to follow them as much as you can. Because if you follow all of them, then you don't need Kriya, you're already there. Right? So we start somewhere. Now, before practice, it's always good to keep your tummy empty. Are there any other restrictions? Yes. Do not attempt Kriya if you have had a narcotic. We are not inducing a trance through chemical means. That is completely out. If you do and it causes complications, please don't send me emails. And two, alcohol. Don't go to the ridiculous extent of saying that I have a wound and I can't rub spirit because it is alcohol. It's not that. At least when you sit down to do your practice, at least at that time, don't start your practice after having alcohol. It becomes a great mix-up. Because alcohol paralyzes the central nervous system, and we are trying to activate some parts of the central nervous system, so there is an internal clash. So avoid. If you do want to have a drink, do it in the evening sometime. Not that the moment you start drinking the inner wine, then you probably won't need the wine outside. The more dependent you are on the outside, you escape from the inside. So here are some basic things. But as I said, everything in moderation. I know why I am saying this. People will say, if I have to follow all this, then I am not doing Kriya, rather than giving it up. So try your best, do your Kriya, and see how things move. This is my advice. Preliminary. Okay, now I don't want to say any questions because then our time will go in answering the questions. They will say Bhima had a drink in Mahabharata, so why are you saying this? And so on. So let's not bring any irrelevant subjects into this. Let's start. Or they would say tantrics drink. Wait a minute. You don't know anything about Tantra, so let's not discuss that right now. According to me, it's a very lofty way of looking at life, but people have a complete misunderstanding about it. Totally. If anybody wants to seriously know something about Tantra, I suggest you go on Amazon and get a beautiful book written in English by Sir Arthur Avalon called Introduction to Tantra. Very nice. You get all your illusions about Tantra cleared. For your information, Sir Arthur Avalon's original name was Sir John Woodroffe, who was a judge of the Calcutta High Court during the British times. He got so much interested in Tantra that he resigned his job, lived with the sadhus, learned the Tantra, and translated very important works, which are very useful today, especially because people don't know much Sanskrit these days. So please do read Introduction to Tantra. This will save you from falling into wrong tantric practices. Because unfortunately in Kali Yuga, for most people, Tantra involves only the center between the legs, no other center. So, sorry. Now, Kriya. Here is a question. How to differentiate between intuition and wishful thinking? Good question. Most of the time when we say I have this intuition, it is wishful thinking. Most of the time. But if it is an intuition, then it happens when you are not thinking about that subject at all. It suddenly pops up in the head. And it need not have a reason, and it may be totally wrong also. You might think that this is not going to work. But usually what we call intuition is wishful thinking. So don't accept all wishful thinking as intuition. When you are meditating, when your mind is blank and quiet and no movement, if a thought connected, not even something you're thinking about, pops up, it is intuition. It's coming from some source, which we do not. And then the second question, why do we get certain desire, or is desire or desires? Is it because of the programming from society, parents, media, etc.? Or is there something more to it? Third question is connected to this. Is desire good? I mean, how to maintain happiness with so many desires and dreams? Well, I can tell you that desire is not bad per se. The human mind has been what you call circuited to have desires. It's quite normal. Who doesn't have a desire? Everybody has a desire. It's quite normal. And desire is prompted. There is a desire circuit in us. Can't throw it off. Now, desire is prompted by the desire to enjoy. Nobody wants the desire. There's no desire to suffer. Even if there is a desire to suffer, it's because it's what you call a martyrdom kind of, martyr kind of thought. So that if I suffer, I may be happy in heaven. So still it is for happiness. There is no desire for sorrow or pain. There is always the desire for happiness, joy, and it is natural. There is nothing wrong with that. Of course, if your desire interferes with somebody else's life and creates problems for them, I would say it's not a good desire. But per se, desire is not bad. It is okay. Even the desire to become spiritual is a desire, right? I want to, that's also a desire. What am I seeking? I see that this world, even though I like some parts of it, there is some pain and problems and things. Maybe I will be free of it. So let me become spiritual. So this is a desire too. It's still a desire. So you can grade desires as desires which are for the mind, for the body, for material things, and desire for higher things. Both are desires. So you can't say desire is wrong. It's natural. Okay. And what is the aim of desire? To find happiness. In India, we had a saint who was a weaver. You know, weaving cloth. He made his living by weaving. But he was a great sage. His name was Kabir Das. Now, in one of his poems, he says, while he did his weaving, he used to sing and the songs were recorded. He said about a particular kind of deer called the Kasturi Mriga, which means a musk deer. You know what is musk? M-U-S-K. They're in perfumes. Musk. Now, in the Himalayas, there is a particular breed, a particular kind of deer called the Kasturi deer, the musk deer. It's quite short. And what happens is, in a particular season in the year, Y-E-A-R, year, the deer, D-E-E-R, deer, it has a pouch somewhere near its belly where musk is produced. So, when the musk is produced, there's a lovely fragrance in the air. There's a lovely fragrance in the air. Now, this poor deer, here D-E-A-R, goes around looking for the source of this fragrance everywhere in the forest, not knowing that it's coming from under its belly. Yeah? The fragrance is there, but where it is coming from? It looks everywhere. Pokes its snout into thorny bushes, bleeds, but still doesn't know it's coming from my own belly. Kabir Das said, this is the problem with us human beings. We know there is a fragrance somewhere. There is some musk somewhere. But we look for it outside. It's actually inside. So, desire is normal. We say that this desire for enjoyment is actually an indirect built-in circuit to find the truth, which is the true enjoyment. For that, instead of looking out, at least for a few hours, look within. You will find the source. If you found the source, you can also live in this earth, but you can live happily and safely. Whenever you want, you can tune in and enjoy. So desire. Now here is a technical question. I think if you practice Kriya for some time and see how the life energy operates in your system and how the soul leaves the body after it dies and so on, that would better answer your question than my theoretical answer to this. The question is, what is the connection between the life force energy and the soul? At the time of death, what happens to these? How do they leave the body? What migrates to the next lifetime? Thank you. I said thank. No, he said whoever wrote. So I think you practice Kriya, your life energy is what is going up and down your spine. It's also that which keeps you alive. It's called prana, which is going through all the nadis of your body. And what is the connection with the soul? When the life energies are completely stable and quiet and relaxed, then you get to know what the soul is which you're talking about. It is that which, in the quietness of mind, remains conscious and aware with no activity whatsoever. You can call that the soul. Now, at the time of death, what happens to this? When the prana leaves the body, just as it comes in, you see, when a child is born, the first sign that the child is born is it cries. You hear? Like the Buddha said, no child is born laughing because it knows what's in store. So every child comes out. The first cry of the child is actually the breathing in of the atmospheric air. So this is prana. Now, inside there is a life energy which sustained it even before the oxygen came in. When the oxygen comes in, the outside air and the inner prana come together, and this is the life force in us, the prana. Now, at time of death, just as it came in, it leaves. And once it leaves, you cannot stop it. It's gone. So, you see, this life force, I would say breath, is so important. You can live without food for some time. You can live without water for some time. You cannot live without breath or life force. Even in ancient texts, not only in India, even in other parts of the world, how is something coming to life? The whole thing is created. Then God breathes the breath of life into it. Then it's alive. So, breath is very important, and we give no attention to the breath. In fact, many of us don't even know how to breathe properly. Plus, since we are on the subject, there are certain involuntary but very important functions going on in the body. Circulation of blood, is it under our control? No. Do we, as soon as we are born, does the child say, now circulate? No. It's happening. And if it stops, we have no way to do anything about it. Then the heart. Do we say to the heart, beat when you get up in the morning? No, goes on. Not under our control, mind you. All these digestion, you can choose the right food, you can swallow it, that's about it. Digestion, you cannot say now, this enzyme, come in, digest. No, it happens by itself. Involuntary. Although we like to think that we are under control of everything, three-fourths of our lives are not under our control. Yeah. Along with that also the breath. The breath is the most important. And when a child is born, little child, there's a soft part of its skull here. If you put your hand, boom, 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 there's a pulsation going on. That's the area where the prana has entered the system. And afterwards, the skull becomes, we have an expression, right? You can't teach him he's thick skulled. It becomes thick, then it's gone. But the prana is inside. So therefore, when you say somebody is dead, okay. Now the important thing to note that among these involuntary important functions, there is one which is involuntary but can also be controlled by us. That is the breath. So therefore, it's the link to that which has first produced the breath, whatever it is. So you can't control circulation, you can control your breathing. So breath is very important. As you go closer to breathing and breath, you're going closer to the origin of your own life. Origin. So at the time of death, what happens? The air goes off. The life force departs the body, and with it departs your consciousness, which has gathered all the impressions that happen in this life. You can't see it because it's like the wind carrying the perfume of the flowers as it flows. You can't see it. It's gone. Normally, this is from our yogic understanding. All human beings who die, we don't know what happens in an accident, but otherwise, they either at that moment, they shit when the prana goes from the bottom, or they vomit and it goes from the mouth, or they breathe hard and it goes from here, which is very rare, mostly from the bottom. People urinate and also they excrete. But for the yogi, they say that either because it is what you call ichha mrityu, which means you go when you want, you've done your job, you say, I'm fed up, it's over, now I'm going. So I have seen one person do that, so I believe it. Before that, I found it hard to believe this. Babaji said to me one day that it's time now, in Hindi of course, अभी तो काम सब खत्म हो गया, चलते हैं. So I thought he was saying, okay, it is all done now, let's go. I'm going. So I thought he's going somewhere. So I said, I'll also come with you as usual. He said, no, here you cannot come. And then it struck me what he was saying. So he just sat in a pit, turned to all directions, saluted everything, take a deep breath and did. That's all. He was in Padmasana, of course, sitting in Padma. Just did. And he had told me what to expect. He said, wait for a while, touch the solar plexus on the head, put a feather before the nose and see if there's any movement. If all these three are there, cover it. Cover the body. So yogis go that way. There are also stories of yogis whose breath in the last moment escapes from here. There's a small crack here and it goes. Now that people having known this, even if yogis naturally die, they try to break a coconut on their heads so that it appears as if it's gone. Poor fellow, he can't die in peace. So anyway, but there are cases. In fact, in the Vajrayana teachings, there is something called transfer of consciousness. we also have it in our own way, in which a certain practice is done with pranayama. Did the breath go out? Done. And they visualize here and make a peculiar sound. If you see a monk or a yogi, they're also called yogis, jogi, they call, sitting quietly in a cell, and if you hear him screaming, don't go and open the cell. He's not screaming of fear, out of fear. He's doing a particular practice in which the sound is like he, then ah. With that practice, they develop a small portion. Here, when the baby is born, you know where it pulsates, they create a soft portion here, which they first test with a straw. Don't do one. And then they get out from there. So, this is what happens when death comes. The life energy, along with what is called the soul, which means the consciousness which had gathered all experience of this life, goes out along with the breath. There is an old saying, from dust thou art created man, to dust thou shalt return. That applies to the body actually. I would say from breath you have been created man, to breath you return. When I say man, remember it also applies to women. It's just a way of saying. Sometimes, between sleep and waking states, the soul wants to or could leave the body. Is it safe to do it? Is there anything one should be careful of? Thank you so much. I don't know what you're talking about. What is this time between waking and sleep? Are you talking about the time, who wrote this, when you're asleep and you just, huh? Yeah, so what is this state you're talking about between sleep and waking? You're awake. This happens in the night or in the morning. When? Okay. Just before you wake up. Right? So what happens? Okay, so what happened? You got what?
Afraid, you know, that I will just disappear into nothing. And then I really tried to pull back in the body, and this thing was pulling me out, and I was pulling in. And I said, "Is anybody there to help, please?" And then I somehow managed. This last quite a long time. I'm
And
just
then how
explaining
did you
about one
how
time.
did you come back to normal?
Yeah, with pulling in, but it was not. It was out for some times, and then it went in again because I didn't know what to do. I didn't know where to go. So what's next?
Don't worry, you will not go because you still have desires on this earth. So you will not go. You're firm here. But if you have no fear and you really want to live and enjoy your true being, don't get frightened. Allow it to happen.
Okay, thank you.
Allow it to happen. But then you can't come for Kriya next time. No, you can.
I can.
Nothing. So, my suggestion is when this happens next time, don't panic. Don't say, I want to go, I don't want to go. Neither. Just feel what is happening to you and chant the Guru mantra. Om Hrim Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha.
Okay.
Think Babaji is with you. Chant the mantra and see then what happens.
Okay.
If you're lucky, he might take you away somewhere. Otherwise, he'll say, still not time and leave
Yeah.
you. Just chant the one.
Thank you.
I think we should stop now. It's 3:30. We come back in half an hour. When you come back, please, we are going to practice the Kriya from the beginning to the end. And then if there is some time left, we can pick up some question. Huh? Okay.